What's going on, everyone? It's Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. This is our tournament preview for the 2021 Wells Fargo Championship. If this is your first time to our channel, thank you for joining us. Please consider hitting the subscribe button. If you've watched a long time, thank you again for supporting us. We appreciate you guys watching in and tuning in every week. We really appreciate it. All right, Craig.
Yeah, for sure.
We are at the Wells Fargo Championship. It's a pretty good field this week at the PGA Tour. So 2020 last year, looking at kind of some quick history here. 2020 was canceled, so we didn't have an event there. It has been a PGA Tour event since 2003. This year, we usually get a pretty strong field. This year, we got 4 of the top 5 in the official world golf rankings teeing up. That Dustin Johnson is the one that isn't. Of course, there are guys that are usually in the top 5 that are teeing up that aren't in the top 5 right now. We'll talk about it in a second. It is played annually at Quail Hollow, except for 2017 when they had the PGA Championship, and 2022 when the President's Cup will be coming there. But we'll talk about that again in a second. But looking at our previous winners here, we've got Max Homa, who's playing really well. We're recording this on a Sunday, and he's playing really well at the Valspar. He won in 2019. We have Jason Day, Brian Harmon, James Hahn, and Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, now the one thing, I guess, Brian Harmon, obviously he won it the year that it wasn't at Quail Hollow, so something to keep in mind, because you may know he's not the longest hitter out there, but but yeah, a little bit about the course, I guess, is what we need to get into.
Let's talk Quail Hollow. So it's located in Charlotte, North Carolina, opened in 1961. As you mentioned, it has hosted the 2017 PGA Championship. It's also, I mean, it's a big course in the PGA in North America. It's a big course on the world. It's scheduled to host the 2022 President's Cup and the PGA Championship again in 2025. It is a long course, par 71, 7,500 yards, and it's known for the Green Mile, a difficult closing 3-hole stretch. We've got a long par 3 17th sandwiched between 2 longer par 4s. Very hard to get home. Just one quick note here. 2017 championship, you might remember it by Justin Thomas taking home the trophy that year.
I was just going to ask you if you could remember who won it here, but I guess you did your research.
Absolutely.
I think it's a course especially that we do see a lot of top players. I think it does reward top players. They seem to play well here, so we do see a lot of guys coming back here year after year.
Okay, talk about playing well. Let's talk about our top 5 list. Horses for courses, Craig. This is you. Who has the best history here?
Well, I was going to say maybe I just say top players because the player I like the most happens to have the best history here. But so best tournament histories. First off, I always like to start with the honorable mentions. Guys that, don't quite have enough starts but have played well when they've been here. Jon Rahm played here once in 2018. He was 4th then. And Aaron Wise actually shows up. He's played here twice. He was 2nd in 2018 and 18th in 2019. Wow. Yeah. But getting into the real horses, Rory McIlroy. Yep. So he's just been an absolute stud at this course. 2-time winner. He won it in 2010 and 2015. He's got 9 starts here. And so he's got a single missed cut. 7 of 9 times he's been in the top 10. When he has made the cut, he hasn't finished outside the top 16. So, we're talking about seven top 10s, but really we're talking 8 of 9 inside the top 16 here. And, to go along with his 2 wins, he actually lost in a playoff here as well. Wow. So 3 out of 9, he's either won the tournament outright or finished with the lowest score through 72 holes and lost in a playoff.
That's one of the best horses for courses we've seen at any course, really. Like that's an incredible record.
Yeah. We'll get into it, I think, a little bit more in a bit here, but hopefully he can turn things around here a little bit. Anyways, moving on, the guy that Rory lost to in the 2012 playoff, Rickie Fowler, our number 2 horse for course here. He has 8 starts. Obviously won it in 2012 over Rory and the also renowned DA points. But Rickie's got 8 starts, no missed cuts. 6 times he's been in the top 21, and 4 of 8 he has been top 6. So he has played very well here. Both these guys at the top of this list, I think, are looking for this as a place they can come and maybe turn around games that are trending in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different slopes of kind of where they're kind of falling to a little bit, but definitely 2 guys looking for something.
One feels like it's a little bit more of a dip, and the other one feels like it might be more into the recession type. Next up, Phil Mickelson. So a guy who has a lot more starts. We're talking 16 starts here, a single missed cut. That was the last time it was played, 2019. 16 starts, so 13 times he's been top 20, 10 times he's been 10 times in the top 10. and he has 8 top fives. So we're talking
Wow.
50% of the time, over 16 starts that he's been in the top 5 here. So he doesn't have a win here, but he actually jumps up above a couple guys that do have wins, and I think fairly so, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a great track record.
So then we get into a couple other guys. So Jason Day, only 4 starts, but he's played very well. He hasn't finished worse than 24th in his 4 starts, and he's got 2 top 10s, including winning it, as you had mentioned, back in 2018. And then lastly, Lucas Glover. A lot of starts, just like Phil. He's got 16 starts. He's been a little less consistent, though. 4 missed cuts and only 5 top 10s. But notably, he did win in 2011, and he was runner-up in 2009.
Okay, interesting. A couple guys getting in a little later in their careers, but I mean, a list of guys kind of searching for it a little bit. Phil with a tragic miscut this past week at Valspar, so interesting list for sure.
Yeah.
So that was kind of guys searching for it with great histories. I'm looking about guys that are coming in hot, who's playing really well. This is recent form for them. Craig, I feel like I have to start off with Stewart Cink. He's coming off his 2nd win of the season, as everyone predicted coming into the season. Not at all at the RBC Heritage. But prior to that, he had 2 top 20s as well. So again, it wasn't just kind of popping out of nowhere. He did have a couple top 20s and then got his 2nd win, like playing really well this season.
This has been a renaissance for Stewart Cink here, I think.
It absolutely has. So less than a year ago, he was ranked outside the top 300 in the world. He is now entering this tournament at 43rd. Depending on how things change on the weekend here.
Yeah, obviously. We're not through the tournament here this week.
We're not through, but he gets the number 1 spot, I think, deservedly slow. Number 2, Brian Harman. So a guy that kind of jumps up here. He has 4 straight top 15s. It was a 5th at the match play. 4 of those, there's 2 top 5s. That was a 5th at the match play and a 3rd at the Players Championship. So big events. He's been playing really well. As you said, he has that win, but not at this course, but really good form for Brian Harman.
Yeah, something to keep track of.
Charley Hoffman, going into the guys playing this weekend. Charley Hoffman is, he's just on a tear. He was 2nd at Valero. We've talked about, back that up with the top 20 at the RBC Heritage. I think he's currently in the top 10, top 20, depending on when you're watching this at the Valspar. We don't know exactly where he'll end up, but he's playing very well again this week. 8 straight make cuts. If we're looking kind of a longer history here, 8 straight make cuts. Depending on how Valspar goes, either 5 top 20s or it's going to look like it's going to be 6 top 20s in his last 8.
Yeah.
Consistent.
He's playing very well.
Very consistent. Jon Rahm, we said it's recent form coming in for them, but I know he's one of the best players in the world, but you can't ignore how well he does. He just doesn't have that win recently. So, okay, top 10s in 8 of his last 10 tournaments. So 80% of the time he's top 10ing. He has top 5s recently at the Masters, at the Match Play, at Genesis. He has more top 5s in those top 10s going back to the Zozo, I believe. He just consistently gets to the top of the leaderboard. He just hasn't got that win in a little while.
Yeah, I was trying to hype him up recently. I think people are sleeping a little bit on Jon Rahm, both in this past little bit, but also his form over the last few years. Like he is, his play has just been exceptional, and he's in exceptional form. So I would really like, just as a fan of golf, I'd really like to see him break through and get a few big wins here.
I think there's a couple of weeks here at Quail Hollow and Kiowa that are going to be interesting for a couple of these big hitters, big names.
For sure.
And then, another guy playing this weekend, Keegan Bradley comes in at number 5. He's entering, he had the lead entering Sunday at Valspar. Not exactly sure where he is right now. He's kind of been fluctuating with the lead. But prior to that, had 6 consecutive cuts made, including 3 top 25s. So this kind of, this domination or this doing very well at Valspar is not coming out of nowhere. He has made 6 cuts in a row. 3 of them, half of them, top 25s or better. So Keegan Bradley has been playing very, very well.
Yeah, and his ball striking has just been awesome. It seems like this week, we'll see what happens today, but it seems like this week his putter has helped him out too. And if he'll win here, then this might be a little low on the list.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Okay, next up, we got the model. So first look projections, who does the Grandstand Golf model like? And this one actually surprised me. And I think that I'm going to put a caveat on this because we don't separate out driving distance and driving accuracy like some others do. So the model comes up with Webb at the top. I'm going to maybe tap the brakes on that because Quail Hollow is a course where distance does matter. So it has every one of these top 5 and then a couple more players who, a few big names that we have talked about that are not on this list are all within a very, very, very narrow margin. So I would say care less about the rankings this week and more about the tiers. But anyways, regardless, Webb Simpson's first, and then Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, Justin Thomas, and Patrick Reed. I would say the big thing that is driving Webb to the top, and you see, I think, with most of those guys, except JT might be the exception. He's just a stud. That's why he's on the list. But the way that it was spitting out at me was that putting mattered. Like how people had putt for in the lead up to the tournament seemed to be fairly predictive of how they did at the tournament. So something to keep in mind. Maybe give it a slight bump to good putters this week.
Yeah, and we mentioned Stuart Sink is one of the two-time winners on the season. Bryson DeChambeau, number 3 on that list, the other two-time winner. So definitely a guy I'm going to kind of have on a short list.
Yeah.
Okay, that leads us to the most interesting man in the field. Sometimes we kind of go deep in the field, sponsors exemptions. Sometimes, it's just that one staring you right in the face. And that's kind of this week. It's Rory McIlroy. So only two-time winner at Wells Fargo at 2010, 2015. As Craig mentioned, like stellar record, 7 of 9 events here. He has top 10s. Absolutely unbelievable. But this, I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure this is the last event before the PGA Championship at Kiowa, as we mentioned, where he won in 2012 by 8 strokes, the last time the PGA Championship was there. He has very publicly kind of dropped outside the top 10 rankings in the world. He has 0 top 5s on the PGA.
Although, to be fair, does Rory do anything that's not very public?
Yeah, exactly. He cannot hide from the kind of the public eye at all.
And the one thing, just to be clear, this is not the last event. Like, we do have an event. It's just likely it'll be Rory's. I'd be surprised if Rory plays in the Byron Nelson.
Yeah, depending on how everyone's kind of stress load or kind of workload is, people are going to pick and choose their events. I'm not entirely sure if he's entering kind of the week in between.
Yeah.
But with kind of his drop outside the top 10, he has 0 top 5s on the PGA Tour in 2021. That's 8 events. He did get a top 5 on the European Tour, so I'm kind of cherry picking there a little bit. But it just kind of shows 8 events with Rory not cracking a top 5. He's been okay, but he hasn't been the Rory that we kind of have known and loved over the past decade of some dominant play.
Well, I think the other thing that's a little bit crazy about that to me is when we look back at the end of 2019, start of 2020, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He had 7 straight top 5s. So for him to have, 8 events not in a top 5, it's just he's too good of a golfer. So I'm the biggest Rory fan out there. I hope he does get a little form here because I think these are a few majors coming up are good places for him. So I'd like to see him find the form before we get to those events.
Yeah, absolutely. We kind of more expect his form to be like the Jon Rahm, like his floor is kind of like those top 10s, and that's what Rahm doing is right now. So very interested to see how it goes this week for Rory.
And I would care less about the result and a win, more so like is he putting the pieces together? And if he puts the piece together and a few putts don't drop and that kind of thing, that's fine. It's more like we need to see Rory kind of get his game back turned around.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Okay, that leads us I could talk about Rory for a long time. So.
Yeah, let's cut it off. That leads us to our way too early weather forecast, Craig. Leading up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it looks like we might get some rain, maybe dampen it, soften it a little bit. Some thunderstorms possibly interfering with practice rounds. But once we get into the tournament here, it looks like it is pretty nice. Wind isn't too far up. Rain doesn't seem to be that threatening. Pretty sunny, pretty good temperatures. Anything kind of standing out there for you?
Yeah, no, I mean, the one thing, I think if it does soften up, that probably does favor longer hitters even more because it definitely makes the whole course play longer. But it'd be nice. It looks like maybe a little bit of wind, but hopefully we avoid any rain on the actual days of the event. Yeah,
for sure. Well, thank you everybody for watching. As we said, we appreciate the support. Please hit that thumbs up if you like our video and subscribe to our channel if you like our content. We will catch you again soon for more kind of videos leading up to the Wells Fargo.
Yep. Thanks, guys. See you next time.